Hi, I'm Dana Trump of the Land Pride Service Department. Today we're going to show you how to install a third function valve kit on Kubota MX5400 and also the MX6000 tractor. These tractors will be equipped with the LA1065 loader. Kits on the ROPS model is going to be a 380-331A for the Pioneer tips. The 380-312A will have the flat face tips. On the cabbed model tractors, you will have a 380-330A, which will be a Pioneer. The 380-311A will be the flat face. First, we're going to unbox these kits. The cabbed model is going to be different than the ROPS model. We're going to show you the differences. This kit is for the ROPS tractor. This is a flat face tip. Of course, these are packed in foam. Pre-assembled kits. There's your hoses run down the loader arms. Pre-assembled. Everything's attached. You will see the star washers out here on these bolts. Leave these on, suck them up into the holes that they need. Next out of the kit, we got a manual. Here's your valve. You notice the hoses are all attached, tips are all on. Pressure return line are clocked in the correct position that they need to be. We got a pack of zip ties. And of course your handle, which we'll get to when we install. This is the valve kit for the cab model, which is going to be a 380-330A, which is the Pioneer tips, or you can use a 380-311A, which is going to be the flat face. In this case here, we got a flat face tip kit. Pre-assembled kits come packed in foam. Inside you will find the manual, zip ties, hoses. There's your handle for the loader lever. There's a guard cover for the valve. Here's the hoses that run down the loader arms. Zip ties. We've also got some fittings here that go on the cab, right in front of the cab, that you will need. And here is your third function valve. Okay, we're going to mount the valve on this tractor. This valve, you're going to remove the outside bolt. The inside bolt you're going to loosen. You'll notice that there's a notch here. This bracket will go underneath the bracket for the loader valve mount. We're going to get that installed and then we'll hook up the hoses. Okay, now that the valve is installed on the loader mount, we're going to go down here to this block. The top right port is the pressure line coming out of this block. We're going to remove this hose from the elbow, follow the hose up to the inside port of the loader valve and remove that fitting there. You got two zip ties around this sock. You're going to cut both those so you can get this hose out of there. Now that the hose has been discarded, the short hose on the third function valve, if you look closely, you will see a P for pressure. The longer hose that goes toward the front of the tractor curls up behind this valve, gets hooked up into here. The port down here is going to have a T for tank, in other words, return. So we're going to hook the pressure hose up to the block on the top right-hand port. The return line off the third function valve is going to plug into the port on your loader valve. Okay, got the hoses installed in the right ports. Remember, when you get done with that step, get your two zip ties out and get this existing sock tightened back up. Up next is we're going to take the hoses for the loader arm that goes out the torque tube, install that on the loader. Okay, to install the bulkhead mount, you notice you got two bolts, a couple of star washers, leave star washers on. You got two bolts back here on the back of this cover. Remove those bolts. You're going to take and get these bolts started in there and snug them up. Next on the list is you got a couple of hose stays here. You're going to adjust those where needed. You got one up here and one right here. On the back side, you're going to have your couplers. You can plug those into the valve. Okay, now that we got the hoses installed on the torque tube, got the bolts tightened up, and again, we adjusted the hose stays, got them tightened down. I got a zip tie back here to hold it. Hoses are hooked up to third function valve. Okay, up next we're going to install the handle. But first, we're going to remove the knob, remove the boot, Hold it up here out of the way. Yep. We're going to take it off. When we put the wire harness through this boot, we'll have to take and notch it a little bit to allow room for it. If you take the cap off the fuse holder, a smaller hole will be required to get that through then, but just make sure you hook it back up. So we're going to put this handle on, put some zip ties on where needed, and then we're going to run it through the boot and get this connected on the top side. Okay, now that we got the handle on, when you're putting your handle on, you can position this any direction you like. Got the wires run through. We're going to go down below now and get the power hooked in, and also the 2 plug-ins that go to each coil. You want to pop the hood, remove the side cover. Here's the bracket that you have to unscrew for the side cover. This connector right here is taped. Pull it down. There's a dust plug on it. Release the dust plug. The other wire, power wire, the longer one, it's got the yellow on it. You're going to bring it up and hook these 2 together. Now we're going to go back and hook the wires into the coils and zip tie our wires up out of the way. On the ROPS model, time we got the valve installed, that's very tight to get in there. We can't get in there with a camera to show you good pictures of it. The solenoid that's on top gets the green plug, the one on the bottom gets the black one. Pop them into position, and those are hooked into place. Okay, now we've got the electrical hooked up, we've got zip ties in place, holding everything firm. At this point here, get on the tractor, start it up, run the loader up and down. You're going to have your grapple hooked up to it. Press your buttons, make sure everything works and sounds like it's supposed to. Run your 3-point up and down. If you hear any deadheading going on, come out and check your pressure and return lines. Most likely they're backwards. Okay, up next, CAD model, MX5400 and MX6000. These 2 tractors will use the valve kits of 380-330A, which is going to be the Pioneer tips. Also, you can use a 380-311A, which is going to be the flat face tips. Before you install the 3rd function valve onto the tractor, you're going to have to remove the cover. You got 1 bolt in the front, 2 in the back. Let's take this cover off and see what we can find. We're going to install the valve on the tractor. This turns around and fits on the inside of this frame rail, and it bolts in on this bracket here. There's a small cavity some people may not be able to get their fingers into, a regular socket extension, and you'll be able to slip in there and get the thread started very easily. Then you can continue tightening it up. At this point here, what we're going to do is we're going to remove the pressure line, which will be the top right hose. This top right hose comes out to this port here. It's also got a dot of orange on it. That's the pressure line. We're going to remove this hose, and then we'll hook up the pressure and return lines to the 3rd function valve. Okay, we got the hose removed. You can tell by the open ports. On the valve that's on this tractor, it faces this direction. If you turn that, this top port over here is pressure. The bottom port is tank. Do not want to get these confused. The pressure line is going to be an 861-462C. It's going to be the shorter of the 2 hoses. Put the elbow on this hose. What you're going to do is start the elbow, just so she started good. This hose is going to have to come back up and make a loop to plug into the pressure port of the block. So that's what needs to be done to get this hose hooked up. This is the return line. Again, we're mocking this up because you can't see in there where the darn. Elbow goes down here. Now we're at the bottom port. At the rear of the tractor is marked T for tank / return. Go ahead and start this elbow on this fitting. At this time, this hose is going to roll around through here, and it's going to hook up to this port right here. Okay, we just got done running the return hose on the 3rd function valve. Next, install both your bulkhead fittings right here. After that, we're going to run the hoses for A and B port to our fittings here. Okay, the valve under the tractor is turned in this position. A and B port is pointing toward the front of the tractor. Your two hoses you got left, you're going to have an 861-471C and also an 861-427C. If you line them up, just to make it simple, you will notice one's a little longer than the other. The bottom port gets the longer hose. The higher port gets the short hose. Okay, since the loader's not hooked up yet, now's a perfect opportunity to hook up the electrical. We're going to start in the cab with the handle. The power source on this unit is hiding right there. It's taped on. Just have to cut it off. We're going to start in the cab, put the handle on. We'll show you how to run the wires out to here. Okay, we got the handle installed. We got the wire harness run down beside the loader lever and got it zip tied properly. We got a push pin cable tie, comes in backwards. What I did is I put the cable tie around it loosely, around the wire harness, and then I pushed this push pin from the rear forward, got the wire in place, and I grabbed hold of the zip tie, and I got to pull it up tight, remove the two bolts down below, and there's a wire harness stay that you will put in place. Make sure that your fuse holder is just above that and pointing out so you can get to it. Continue with your wire harness on down to the floor to the corner of the tractor, and you will find a piece of foam there you can pull up, drop your wires down through there, install your foam back. At that point, you can roll all your carpet and your floor liner back into position. Okay, with the wire through the bottom of the cab, there is a cab mount bracket. There is also an air conditioner line that runs through this tab. Run the wires through there. I continue running the wire forward over the top of the cab mount. When I come out to the front of the cab with the power wire, that air conditioner line continues on to the engine compartment. That's where we follow the hot wire up with that air conditioner line. Remove the dust cap and plug it in. Make sure both red wires line up on the same side of the connectors. Down on the bottom side where we have the Y, we're going to hook the black connector to the front solenoid. We're going to hook the green connector to the rear solenoid. Before you get the tractor to the end of the loader, make sure you stop in enough room to get your hoses hooked up. And the bulkheads you put on earlier for the third function valve, hook these up and put the dust caps onto each other. At this time, finish hooking up your loader to the tractor and put your cover back on over your loader valve. Okay, we got the loader hooked back up, got the cover put back on. No leaks anywhere. This tractor's good to go. If you have more questions, consult your operator's manual or see your local Land Pride dealer. For more instructional videos, go to Land Pride's YouTube channel. I'm Dana Trump, and thank you for watching, and thank you for buying Land Pride.